Very good afternoon to all of you, and thank you for turning up for the extra lecture. In Krebs cycle, I think we discussed the first three reactions, wherein the third reaction we have not completed it yet. We have spoken about the conversion of isocitrate to oxalosuccinate, right?
Yes, sir.
Can I confirm that? Yes. Okay, great. So today we will complete this reaction first and then move ahead. So we have already seen that isocitrate to oxalosuccinate is basically an oxidation reaction wherein you are removing hydrogens and those hydrogens are either accepted by NAD or NADP, forming NADPH or NADH along with a proton, right? And oxalosuccinate is the product that you get in the process. Okay, but this oxalosuccinate further is subjected to the process of decarboxylation. So we are going to remove carbon dioxide from oxalosuccinate and we are going to form a very important metabolite of Krebs cycle which we call as alpha ketoglutaric acid, which is also referred to as or abbreviated as alpha Kg. Okay, so we will see what exactly the reaction is all about. So what we have with us is oxalosuccinate at this point, which looks like this. And it's a tricarboxylic acid. Okay. Oh, okay, I'm writing slightly different. Okay. Okay, so which looks like this. This is my oxalosuccinic acid or oxalosuccinate, and I'm going to remove carbon dioxide. I'm going to carry out decarboxylation. The carbon dioxide that is removed is this part. Okay, so this is what we are going to get rid of in the process. So my structure looks like this: CH2, COO minus, CH. Now यहाँ का कार्बोक्सिल ग्रुप तो हमने निकाल दिया, तो यहाँ पे डबल बॉन्ड आएगा अब, and there is going to be this carbon, और इस कार्बन का जो ऑक्सीजन था जो डबल बॉन्ड से एसोसिएटेड था वो अब सिंगल बॉन्ड में कन्वर्ट हो जाएगा बिकॉज ऑफ द डबल बॉन्ड बिटवीन दीज टू कार्बन एटम्स. ओके, सो ये डबल बॉन्ड में कन्वर्ट होने की वजह से जो सी डबल बॉन्ड ओ था वो सी सिंगल बॉन्ड ओ में कन्वर्ट हो जाएगा. And you have this carboxyl group which is left, which we are going to write in a slightly different way, something like this. Okay, now these two oxygens which are having the negative charge will interact with the cofactor of the enzyme, which is either magnesium or it is manganese ions. Okay, it varies from organism to organism. The enzyme in some organism shows the presence of manganese ions as cofactors, while in some it shows the presence of magnesium. So let me explain what did we do again. Okay, I'll use a different color to explain it to you. We got rid of this. So when we got rid of this, the bond between these two carbons has got converted to a double bond, as you can see over here. As this double bond has been formed, ये जो bond है that has been converted into C single bond oxygen, and I have written this part in a slightly different way. And these two oxygens are now associated with manganese or magnesium ions. Okay. Now this part will be rearranged to a more stable structure. So once it is rearranged, how does it look? Let us have a look at that. So once it's rearranged, it is going to look like CH2, COO minus. The proton which was removed in the earlier step, अगर तुम PPT में देखोगे तो जो proton हमने निकाला था during the process of oxidation और NADH and H plus बनाया था, that proton will be utilized over here. Okay, and I am going to write it as CH2. Okay, C double bond O. Okay, and this will remain as C double bond O minus. That's nothing but the carboxyl group. So what I've done is I've just added a proton over here, nullify this double bond which was there between the two carbon atoms, and the proton has come from the NADH and H plus wala H plus, which we just removed in the previous reaction while forming oxalosuccinate. So this structure that you're forming over here is nothing but alpha ketoglutarate, or it is called as alpha Kg. Now I told you that this is a very, very important metabolite of Krebs cycle, and your question should be, why is it so important? What is the significance of alpha Kg? So please understand, students, alpha Kg is that compound from which you can form an amino acid called as glutamic acid, also called as glutamate. Glutamic acid is considered to be the mother of all amino acids, because once you form glutamic acid, you can form other amino acids from it. And alpha Kg is the precursor for forming the mother of that amino acid group, right? So that's the reason why alpha Kg gains a lot of significance, because it is going to act as a raw material, it's going to act as a precursor for synthesis of amino acids, which can then be utilized to synthesize proteins. And that is the basic reason why alpha Kg has a lot of significance, and it plays a major role in making our TCA cycle an amphibolic pathway. Do you remember what is the meaning of amphibolic pathway? I've told you earlier. What is the meaning of that?
Catabolism and anabolism.
So a pathway which is involved in both catabolism and anabolism is what we refer to as amphibolic pathway. So alpha Kg is one reason of Krebs cycle. There are several such intermediates in Krebs cycle, which eventually we will see how they are involved in biosynthesis process, how they are involved in anabolic reactions. So alpha Kg is just one of those, but it has got its significance because it is able to form that amino acid from which you can form other amino acids, right? That's the reason why alpha Kg has got this significance associated to it. So if you club both the reactions, that is isocitrate to oxalosuccinate to alpha Kg, it is going to be an oxidative decarboxylation, isn't it? It's an oxidative decarboxylation, because in the first step, wherein you're converting isocitrate to oxalosuccinate, you're removing hydrogens. But in the second step, where you're converting oxalosuccinate to alpha Kg, you're removing a carbon dioxide. So it becomes oxidative decarboxylation. But we use a single enzyme name there, which is isocitrate dehydrogenase. Because I've told you that whenever you have oxidation coupled with any other type of reaction, the enzyme name always will be for oxidation. Is that clear to all of you?
Yes, sir.
Everyone has understood this?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes.
So the PPT
Yes,
is
sir.
there already. Can you just note down the lower reaction? Because I think the first part we have already written, right?
Yes, sir.
So quickly note down the lower half, and then we will go ahead. Okay, so I can see people are writing done. So I want you guys to take few minutes to see our PDH complex reactions. Okay, can we quickly go through it together? Is it okay with all of you if we just, not invest time individually seeing it and look at all those reactions together? So let's have a look at that. Is the screen visible to you still? Okay.
So we can see both the screens.
Okay. Can you see the PDH reactions now?
Yes, sir, E1.
Yes. Okay. So, do you all remember that we discussed that your pyruvic dehydrogenase, that's a PDH complex, consists of 3 enzyme subunits, right? We said that the first enzyme subunit is pyruvic decarboxylase, wherein we said that there is a TPP, thymine pyrophosphate carb anion, which is present, to which pyruvate will attach itself. For this attachment, a proton is taken. The proton is taken so that you can convert the C double bond O group that you have to the hydroxyl group, as you can see over here, so that the pyruvate group is attached to TPP. And then we are removing this carboxyl group such that we are left with CH3, C and OH group. And there's a double bond between the TPP group and the pyruvate group that we had attached. Okay, so the double bond was originally within the ring structure between nitrogen and carbon. Now it is shifted between the TPP and the carbon of pyruvate. So the product that was being formed there was alpha hydroxy ethyl TPP, right? We said that the second subunit of the enzyme is called dihydrolipoyl acetyl transferase, wherein first we shifted the double bond back within the ring as it was between the nitrogen and the carbon of the ring. So again, a carbanion is formed, to which you can attach your oxidized lipoic acid, wherein you will break this ring, and the sulfur group is going to be attached to this carbon. So this is how you used to get a combination of your hydroxyethyl TPP lipoic acid. Then what you used to do was, you used to break this such that the TPP is released free. And when you're releasing it free, the hydrogen from the hydroxyl group was transferred to this sulfur such that it forms this SH group. Okay, and what you have is an acetyl group attached. So now you call this as acetyl lipoic acid complex, and TPP is set free. In the very next step, the same enzyme subunit is going to release the acetyl group, and we are going to add a hydrogen to this sulfur such that we get the reduced lipoic acid. Okay, so what we are going to do is, you're going to cleave it at this point, but we cannot release the acetyl group as it is. So we are adding a coenzyme to it. What was that? CoA-SH. But in CoA-SH, only the S-CoA part will attach to the acetyl group such that you form acetyl-CoA, and the hydrogen of the CoA-SH will be utilized to convert this into SH. So now you have the reduced lipoic acid set free and acetyl-CoA which has been produced. I have to convert this back to oxidized state so that now the lipoic acid would be ready to undergo the same set of reaction. So I cannot leave it in the reduced state. So for that, what did I do? I passed on the hydrogens from the sulfur to FAD and oxidized the lipoic acid and formed FADH2. And FADH2 transferred the hydrogens to NAD, giving you NADH and H+. Have you been able to recollect, though I went quite quickly over here, but are you able to recollect this process?
Yes.
It's okay if you say no.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay, fine. Now you should ask me, why are we discussing again? What is the point of coming back to this? So the reaction that we are going to discuss right now is an exact replica of conversion of pyruvate to acetyl-CoA. So the same kind of oxidative decarboxylation reaction that we saw with PDH complex, now we are going to repeat that with alpha Kg dehydrogenase complex. Okay, so like PDH complex, you have alpha Kg dehydrogenase complex that we are going to talk about. Now, what is basic function of this? So for this, let's come back to the whiteboard. So right now we have alpha Kg with us, which I can write like CH2 COO minus, CH2 C double bond O, COO minus. This is nothing but alpha Kg. Right? Now, what do I need for the reaction to take place? I need coenzyme ASH, right? I will need NAD, right? I will need TPP, I will need lipoic acid, I will need FAD, and I will need magnesium. Remember, we used to say that you have 5 coenzymes and Mg2 plus is the cofactor in PDH complex. Same thing is happening here also, right? Because first thing that will happen to alpha Kg there is that it's going to attach itself to TPP, right? Then it is going to be transferred to the lipoic acid residue. Then if we are going to form an FADH2. From that FADH2, we are going to pass the hydrogens to NAD. So the same process, exact same thing will happen with alpha Kg also. Okay, and what would happen is, as it's an oxidative decarboxylation, you are going to remove another carbon dioxide molecule here. So that carbon dioxide is going to come from this carboxyl group. So what you will be left with is CH2, COO minus, okay, CH2, C double bond O, SCO-A, because CoA SH group में से CoA जो है वो यहाँ पे transfer होगा ना, that's how you will release this particular group. So this group that you see over here is succinyl group, and as you add coenzyme A to it, the product is called as succinyl CoA. Obviously, along with this, a carbon dioxide will be released. NAD will get converted to NADH and H+. So same set of reactions will occur with alpha Kg also, and you are going to get a product succinyl CoA. Now I want you to notice one thing, students. In the last 2 reactions, what have we done? Pay attention carefully. I'm showing you the last reaction. The last reaction was conversion of oxalosuccinate to alpha Kg. What did you remove in this process? Can you quickly tell me what did you remove?
Carbon dioxide.
Carbon dioxide, right? Isn't it? Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes,
So
sir.
how many carboxyl group did you have originally in oxalosuccinate? You had 3 carboxyl groups, right? Can you see there? 1,
Yes,
2,
sir.
3 carboxyl groups. So when you removed the carbon dioxide, you converted tricarboxylic acid to a dicarboxylic acid. So this is the first step. Citrate गया, isocitrate गया, cis aconitate बीच में था, oxalosuccinate हुआ, ये सब tricarboxylic acids थे, ये सब 6 कार्बन कंपाउंड्स थे. बट यहां पर आकर मैंने कार्बन डाइऑक्साइड ऑक्सैलोसक्सिनेट में से निकाल दिया और मैंने ट्राई कार्बोक्सिलिक एसिड को कन्वर्ट कर दिया टू द लेवल ऑफ अ डाइकार्बोक्सिलिक एसिड. एक 6 कार्बन कंपाउंड को मैंने कन्वर्ट कर दिया टू अ 5 कार्बन कंपाउंड. ओके, सो दिस इज द फर्स्ट प्रोसेस wherein, or rather first reaction wherein you are reducing the carbon number from 6 carbon state to 5 carbon state in Krebs cycle, and you have converted a tricarboxylic acid to a dicarboxylic acid. And believe me, this alpha Kg is the only dicarboxylic acid. It's the only 5 carbon compound that you're going to see in this process. Why do I say that? Because immediately in the next reaction, I am releasing a carbon dioxide. So what have I done? I have converted dicarboxylic acid to a monocarboxylic compound, wherein now only 1 carboxyl group is left, and I have converted 5 carbon compound to 4 carbon compound. So intermediate to the 6 carbon and 4 carbon, we have only 1 5 carbon compound, which is your alpha Kg, and that's the only dicarboxylic acid also, because in the immediately next step you're removing 1 carbon dioxide. So this could be your question, which is the only dicarboxylic acid or which is the only 5 carbon compound found in TCA. What will be your answer? Can you tell me?
Alpha keto.
Alpha glutaric.
Alpha keto glutaric acid. Is that very clear? Now, if they ask you which one is the first 4-carbon compound, then your answer will be succinyl-CoA. Succinyl-CoA is going to be your first 4-carbon compound. But if they ask you which one of these is the first monocarboxylic acid, then your answer cannot be succinyl-CoA, because the product here is not an acid, it's a coenzyme based compound that is present over here. In the next reaction, you will end up forming the first monocarboxylic acid. But have you understood till this point the kind of questions that can be asked, and have you understood the reaction?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay, PPT is in front of you. Quickly note it down. Chalo. Okay, so I can see that you are done with this reaction. Now we are going to the next reaction, and the next reaction is really very significant from the point of view of energy generation, because this is the only reaction of Krebs cycle or TCA where substrate level phosphorylation takes place. Can someone tell me what is substrate level phosphorylation? We have discussed this term in glycolysis, so I expect an answer from you guys. What is SLP?
So
Yes.
production of ATP by transfer of a phosphate group from a
Right. So if you're forming ATP molecules outside the electron transport chain by transferring phosphate groups coming from the substrate, then you are going to refer to it as substrate level phosphorylation. Okay. So this is the only step in Krebs cycle where you will see SLP. Rest everywhere, you would have seen by now that we have been generating NADH molecule. Later on, you will see that we are also generating FADH2 molecules. But this is the only reaction where you will be able to see ATP molecules being synthesized in the pathway itself. Okay, so let us see what that reaction is. The reaction is basically catalyzed by an enzyme called as succinyl-CoA synthetase, or it is called as succinic thiokinase. Okay, so what are we exactly doing in this step? At this point of time, I have succinyl-CoA with me. How does succinyl-CoA look? It looks like this: CH2, COO minus, CH2C, double bond O, S-CoA. This is my structure of succinyl-CoA. Now, what am I going to do in this process? We are going to add a water molecule, and we are going to remove the CoA-SH group. So coenzyme group is going to be removed out. Water is going to be introduced over here. Now, what is the role of water molecule? Do you remember you saw something very similar when we spoke about condensation reaction, wherein we had OAA and acetyl-CoA combining together to form citric acid. There also we were removing coenzyme A. And I told you that when you remove coenzyme A, you have to release it as CoA-SH. While in acetyl-CoA, we did not have that hydrogen. Where was that hydrogen coming from? That hydrogen was coming from water, because water is nothing but H plus and OH minus. So this H plus is going to be taken up by CoA-S group so that you release it as CoA-SH, and the OH group will be substituted over here. So the product that you get is CH2COO minus, CH2COO minus, which means you are making it carboxylic acid, right? So now what you have over here is succinic acid. Okay, so what you end up having with you is succinic acid. Now, please understand that this is a process, this is a reaction where you are converting a high energy compound to a low energy compound, which means a lot of energy is going to be released in this process. So when a lot of energy is released in the process, we are going to have someone to fix that energy for us. So guanidine diphosphate, GDP, is going to come into the picture, which is going to fix the energy released in the process, and a phosphate group will be taken from, inorganic phosphate will be taken from phosphoric acid, and the energy will be fixed in the form of GTP. Now you should have a question that, sir, why GTP? Why can't we form ATP directly? Please understand that the same funda of why NAD comes at a specific place, or why NADP comes at a specific place, or why magnesium ions act as cofactors somewhere while manganese ions act as cofactors somewhere else, or why FAD comes into the picture, all this depends on what the reaction is, how much energy are we going to release in that reaction, and if we are talking about coenzymes and cofactors, are they compatible with the enzyme structure? Because understand that coenzymes and cofactors, if they are interacting with enzymes, it means that they have a binding site on the enzyme. So it has to be structurally compatible. So structurally compatible मतलब क्या? वो लॉक-इन की मैकेनिज्म जो तुम एंजाइम और सबस्ट्रेट के लिए पढ़ते हो, वो सेम फंडा कोफैक्टर्स और कोएंजाइम्स पर भी अप्लाई होता है. सो हर जगह पर एटीपी ही बने ये जरूरी नहीं है. कुछ जगहों पर एटीपी की जगह जीटीपी बनाया जाएगा, बिकॉज कंपैटिबिलिटी ऑफ योर एंजाइम इज विथ जीडीपी इन दिस पर्टिकुलर केस एंड नॉट विथ एडीपी. But GTP, let me tell you, is highly unstable. It cannot conserve energy in that form for a long period of time. And that's the reason why in the very next step, you will see that GTP is going to pass this energy to ADP, and finally we end up conserving it in the form of ATP. Now students always ask me a question that sir क्या गधा मजूरी है, सेल पागल है क्या, पहले ही ADP ला लिया होता तो क्या फर्क पड़ता. याद रखो स्टूडेंट्स that जो एनर्जी इस रिएक्शन में रिलीज होता है वो काफी ज्यादा है than what ADP can actually accumulate. So at that point of time, GDP is the best candidate to assimilate all the energy that is released in the process. And then eventually, when GTP is being converted into ATP, some amount of energy is going to be released. And that could be released in the form of heat as well. So it becomes a process wherein first GTP is synthesized and then you conserve the energy in the form of ATP because GTP is not stable enough. The most stable form or the most stable energy currency we know is nothing but adenosine triphosphate. Is that very clear?
So can you repeat it, please?
Yes. You want me to repeat the part of GTP?
Yes,
the
sir.
structural conformation also, like.
Yes. So if you're going to ask me a question that why can't we have ADP directly associated to the enzyme? Why do we want GDP? So the answer for that remains the same as we would answer for why NAD, why NADP in some cases, why FAD in other cases, why for some enzymes cofactor may be magnesium ions, for some other enzyme it may be calcium ions. This difference is on the basis of the compatibility of the coenzyme and cofactor with the enzyme. You have to understand that anything and everything cannot work as coenzyme or cofactor for any given enzyme. There is a specificity. That specificity comes from the structural conformations. So if the if the section of binding on the enzyme is made according to the structure of manganese ions, I cannot expect something else to go and bind. So compatibility matters. Now the compatibility or why this particular candidate is chosen also comes from the fact of what is happening in the reaction exactly. So like in this case, a lot of energy is released. And that energy, that amount of energy can be trapped effectively by a guanosine diphosphate and can store it in the form of GTP. But eventually GTP is not very stable, but it is the candidate which can trap all that energy being released. It's a suitable candidate for trapping that high amount of energy. So what we do is we let it trap the energy and then pass that adequate amount of that to synthesize an ATP. So GTP is going to dissociate the last phosphate group, pass the energy to ADP, and it will convert ADP to ATP. Is that clear now?
Yes, sir. Sir, can we say that hydrolysis of GTP gives more energy than ATP?
Indeed, but you have to understand that, you have to understand in this scenario that it's not about hydrolysis of GTP, Anjana. Why did we get GDP in the picture? Because the energy released in the conversion of succinyl-CoA to succinic acid is high. And that is something, that amount of energy is something which can be effectively trapped in the form of GTP. That's why we got it into the picture. Because energy released was reaction mein zyada hai. And then we are transferring it. See, you have to understand, jab bhi hum energy release ki baat karte hain, a sudden release of excessive amount of energy is also not suitable for the cell. Please understand this. Okay, you would have studied this why respiration is a stepwise energy generation process in your 12th standard itself. क्यों ATC इतना stepwise बनाया गया है? क्योंकि अगर सारे के सारे ग्लूकोज में से जितना, मतलब एक ग्लूकोज में जितना एनर्जी निकल सकता है, which is 686 किलो कैलोरीज, अगर मैंने उसको एक स्टेप में रिलीज किया, मेरा सेल मर जाएगा. That is a huge amount of energy which cell cannot manage. So whenever there are high amount of energy release that is going to take place, and we feel that ATP is not adequate to trap this, we are getting other current energy currency molecules there. Like we are synthesizing GTP. Then we are passing that energy equivalence ke hisab se to form that many number of ATP molecules. So here 1 GTP is equivalent to 1. The rest of the energy जो थोड़ा बहुत ज़्यादा होगा, that's going to be released in the form of heat. But at the source of its release, we want to trap it first. And then pass it to ATP and release a little amount of it as heat. Does that make sense?
Yes, sir.
Everyone?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Akshay?
Yes, sir.
हो गया क्या?
No, sir. Unmute कर.
Okay, ठीक है. चलो. So the enzyme which is responsible for converting GTP to ATP, that enzyme is called nucleoside diphosphate kinase, because again it's an addition of a phosphate group. So this reaction that we are talking about is brought about by an enzyme called as nucleoside diphosphate kinase, a very significant enzyme. While the enzyme which is responsible for converting succinyl-CoA to succinic acid is what we call as succinyl-CoA synthetase, or we call it as succinic thiokinase. The word thiokinase is to indicate that you have a CoA SH group that is being released, and you are also synthesizing GTP over here. Okay, so this is a significant reaction. As I told you, this is the only step in Krebs cycle where you are directly synthesizing ATPs without involving electron transport chain. ओके, सो ये बहुत गंदा घिचमिड हो गया है, बट तुमको स्लाइड्स पे प्रॉपर रिएक्शन मिलेगा. सो ये रहा तुम्हारा रिएक्शन, और इसके नेक्स्ट स्लाइड पे देयर विल बी दिस कन्वर्जन ऑफ जीटीपी टू एटीपी आल्सो. सो फर्स्ट यू राइट दिस डाउन एंड देन आई विल चेंज द स्लाइड फॉर द नेक्स्ट रिएक्शन.
Sir, is it only me or the presentation is gone?
No, the PPT stopped presenting, Anjana.
Now you can see it, right?
Yes, sir.
Are you all done? Can we go ahead?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So this is a part of the nucleoside diphosphate kinase, how it basically is responsible for, forming a GTP. So you can see that what this enzyme does is it's going to take up a phosphate, okay, which is basically coming from the inorganic phosphate is coming from phosphoric acid, which will be there in the cytoplasmic pool. Okay, that phosphate will be taken up, CoASH is released, and that phosphate is basically attached to your succinyl group. Okay, while it is being converted to succinic acid, that phosphate is attached to the succinyl group. When the succinyl group is attached to the enzyme, then succinic acid is released. The phosphate is still attached to the enzyme, specifically to histidine residue of the enzyme. And then that phosphate is basically taken up by GDP and it is converted into GTP. And further, GTP will be converted into ATP by your nucleoside diphosphate kinase. So this is to show where the phosphate comes from. It's coming from the cytoplasmic pool, from phosphoric acid. What it is doing is it's attaching itself to the succinyl CoA group that is a part of the enzyme substrate complex. And then succinic acid is released, but the phosphate is still attached to histidine residue of the enzyme. And from the enzyme, the phosphate group is transferred to GDP, taken up by, or rather converted to GTP, and finally GTP will be converted into ATP. So this shows how from the cytoplasmic pool, you can make use of your phosphoric acid as the source of inorganic phosphate. Okay. Now, coming to another significant reaction of Krebs cycle. This reaction is an oxidation reaction, but the speciality of this reaction, you will come to know as, you see the process. So let me share the whiteboard. I think the whiteboard got stopped in the process. So I'll share the whiteboard. So this reaction is catalyzed by succinate dehydrogenase enzyme because it's an oxidation step. You have succinic acid with you. Succinic acid looks like this. Okay, now you're going to get rid of hydrogens here. So where is the hydrogen coming from? I'll take one hydrogen from CH2 and another hydrogen from the next CH2. So the compound is very simple. It's COO minus CH double bond CH COO minus. So this was my succinic acid, also called as succinate. And now what I am forming over here is what I refer to as fumaric acid or fumarate. Okay. The hydrogens that I have removed in this process is accepted not by NAD but by FAD, flavin adenine dinucleotide. So this also, which is going to be a hydrogen acceptor, this is chosen on the basis of how much energy your electrons that are coming out of the substrate are carrying with them. So if it is going to be high amount of energy, then FAD is not the choice. NAD will be the choice. But if the energy is comparatively low, then FAD will accept it and will get converted into FADH. Flavin adenine dinucleotide is the full form of FAD. Okay. Now, please remember that this particular enzyme is called as mitochondrial marker enzyme. हमेशा ये दिमाग में बिठा के रखो, एंट्रेंस एग्जाम्स में, इंटरव्यूज में ये चीज पूछा जाता है इन वन वे और द अदर. आइदर सीधा सीधा तुमको पूछ सकते हैं कि भाई माइटोकॉन्ड्रियल मार्कर एंजाइम का नाम बताओ, या फिर तुमको पूछेंगे कि वी हैव आइसोलेटेड माइटोकॉन्ड्रिया फ्रॉम एन एनिमल और अ प्लांट टिश्यू, टेल अस which enzyme we can use as a marker to detect whether we have isolated mitochondria effectively or not. So your answer is going to be succinate dehydrogenase. Why is it called mitochondrial marker? Because mitochondrial matrix has maximum concentration of this particular enzyme called as succinate dehydrogenase. So whenever you want to check, if someone is going to tell you, if tomorrow Akshay is going to come with a tube, there is a solution in it, and he's going to tell me that, sir, this solution contains isolated or extracted mitochondria, I am not going to believe him blindly. I will try to confirm it. So there are different ways to confirm it. One way could be wherein I check for presence of succinate dehydrogenase inside, because that's the mitochondrial marker. Okay. Now please understand that like succinate, there is a compound. The compound looks like this. Look at this. The difference is only of one CH2 group. Otherwise, the compound is so similar. This compound is called as malonate. So, ये देख के तुमको समझना चाहिए कि malonate is going to act as an inhibitor of succinate dehydrogenase. Which kind of inhibitor? Competitive inhibitor, because they are so similar in their structure. So they will act as competitive inhibitors. So if you add malonate, you will see that Krebs cycle will not proceed because succinate dehydrogenase is blocked. Because instead of succinate, what is occupying the active site or the catalytic site is your malonate, which is acting as a competitive inhibitor. Does that make sense to all of you? Yes?
Yes.
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
yes, sir.
तो ये दो चीजें तुम्हारे एंट्रेंस एग्जाम के लिए दिमाग में बिठा के रखो. एक, मैलोनेट इज कॉम्पिटिटिव इनहिबिटर ऑफ सक्सिनेट डिहाइड्रोजनेस, और दूसरा चीज ये कि सक्सिनेट डिहाइड्रोजनेस इज कंसिडर्ड एज द माइटोकॉन्ड्रियल मार्कर एंजाइम. Okay, so I want you to quickly write this reaction down and we will stop. As promised, I will not cross more than 50 minutes. I'm stopping exactly at 3:50. So please write this reaction and we can stop for the day.
Sir, like
Yes.
in the E3 wala reaction, how we converted FADH2 to NADH, why doesn't it happen over here?
Very good question. So let me tell you that first of all, how close is the complex which converts FADH2 to NADH2 matters a lot. Please understand PDH complex is a mitochondrial membrane complex alone. Okay, and the shuttling systems are those systems which can have the ability of converting, FADH2 to NADH or NADH to FADH2. इंटरकन्वर्जन का जो सिस्टम है उसको हम शटलिंग सिस्टम बोलते हैं. ये शटलिंग सिस्टम भी माइटोकॉन्ड्रियल मेम्ब्रेन कॉम्प्लेक्स का हिस्सा है, जैसे कि पीडीएच कॉम्प्लेक्स है. तो प्रॉक्सिमिटी मैटर करता है. ये जो रिएक्शन हो रहा है ये किसी भी एंगल से मेम्ब्रेन में नहीं हो रहा है. ये कहां पे हो रहा है? दिस इज हैपनिंग इन द मैट्रिक्स ऑफ द माइटोकॉन्ड्रिया. सो वी डू नॉट हैव दैट शटलिंग कॉम्प्लेक्स क्लोज टू आवर place where this particular reaction is occurring. So proximity of the complexes is very, very significant. I hope this makes sense to you. That's why we say everything is compartmentalized in sense, right?
Yes, sir. Thank you.